There is a cave high up on a mountain in Henan province. It's small, damp, and cold. And inside this cave, there is a stone wall. If you look closely at the rock, you can see a shadow stained into the surface. It looks like a man sitting cross-legged, back-hunched, head bowed in deep meditation. Legend says this shadow belongs to a monk named Bodhidharma. They say he sat there, staring at that wall, for 9 years. He sat so still for so long that his spirit burned his silhouette permanently into the granite. It's a quiet image, a peaceful image. But descend the mountain, walk through the gates of the temple below, and you won't find peace. You will find the snap of whips, the clash of iron staffs, and the roar of men training to kill. This is the paradox of Shaolin. How does a religion built on silence give birth to the deadliest martial art on earth? How do you reconcile the Buddha's command, "Do not kill," with the soldier's duty to destroy? Tonight, we aren't just talking about kung fu movies. We are talking about the temple protected by heaven. And the price of that protection wasn't prayer. It was blood. To understand the monk, you have to understand the mountain. The Shaolin Temple sits at the foot of Mount Song. In ancient Chinese cosmology, this wasn't just a nice view. It was the central sacred mountain. It was the axis mundi, the pin that held the map of the world in place. In 495 AD, the emperor didn't just build a temple here. He planted a flag in the spiritual heart of the empire. But the Shaolin Temple wasn't originally built for fighters. It was built for a monk named Batu, a man of meditation. It was supposed to be a sanctuary, a place of silence. Then, Bodhidharma arrived. He was a wild-eyed monk from India. Or maybe Persia. History is a bit foggy here. He brought a new kind of Buddhism called Chan, what the Japanese would later call Zen. And here's the thing about Chan. It's hard. Bodhidharma looked at the monks in the temple. They were frail, they were weak, they fell asleep during meditation. Their bodies couldn't support their spirits. So, the legend goes, Bodhidharma didn't teach them a sutra. He taught them calisthenics, the 18 Arhat hands. He told them that the body isn't a distraction from enlightenment, it is the vessel for it. If you want a strong soul, you need an iron house to keep it in. This was the spark, the moment the library became a gymnasium. But it wasn't war yet, it was just PE class. To turn these monks into soldiers, the world had to catch fire. Fast forward to the year 621. The Sui Dynasty has collapsed. China is a broken mirror, shattered into pieces by warlords. One of these warlords, a brutal man named Wang Shichong, seized the land around Shaolin. He didn't care about Buddha, he cared about real estate. He took the temple's farms, their food, their livelihood. The monks had a choice. They could starve and pray for a better next life, or they could fight. They chose to fight. 13 monks, armed with staffs and intimate knowledge of the mountain terrain, launched a night raid, but they didn't fight for themselves. They aligned with a young, ambitious prince named Li Shimin, the man who would become the greatest emperor of the Tang Dynasty. Imagine the scene. It's dark. The warlord's fortress at Cypress Valley is heavily guarded, but the guards are looking for soldiers. They aren't looking for bald men in robes who can scale walls like geckos. The monks stormed the rear guard. They captured the warlord's nephew and handed him over to the prince. It was a surgical strike. When Li Shimin became emperor, he didn't forget them. He carved their victory into stone. In 728 AD, a massive a stone tablet was erected at the temple. It's still there today. It contains a letter signed by the emperor himself. And in that letter, he gave Shaolin something no other temple had: an imperial license to kill. He granted them the right to maintain a standing army of monk soldiers. This is the turning point. This is where the warrior monk stops being a rumor and becomes a legal job description. But this created a massive theological headache. Buddhism is strictly non-violent. So, how did they sleep at night? They created a loophole, or rather, a philosophy. They decided that violence in the hands of the enlightened isn't violence, it's compassionate killing. If you kill one pirate to save 100 villagers, you aren't a murderer. You are a surgeon removing a tumor. So, what makes a Shaolin monk different from a regular soldier? It's not the muscles, it's the mind. The core of Shaolin philosophy is a phrase, Chan Wu He, the unity of Zen and martial arts. Think of it like this. If martial arts is the fire, Zen is the ice. In the West, we think of fighting as emotional. We think of rage, adrenaline, seeing red. But a Shaolin monk trains to achieve a state called Wushin, no mind. It's the state of the mirror. A mirror doesn't hate the person standing in front of it. It doesn't fear them. It just reflects them. If you punch a mirror, the reflection punches back instantly. No hesitation, no anger, just pure reaction. That is Wushin. When a monk fights, he is trying to remove the lag time between seeing and doing. He is trying to erase his own ego. This is why they train the way they do. Have you ever seen the videos of monks breaking iron bars on their heads? Or doing handstands on 2 fingers? It's not a circus trick. It's a test. They call it chirku, eating bitter. The pain is the point. By forcing the body to endure impossible stress, the monk learns to detach his mind from the suffering. He learns that pain is just a signal, and signals can be ignored. And then there are the secret texts, the Yi Jin Jing, the Muscle Change Classic. This isn't a workout plan. It's internal alchemy. The text claims that you can actually change the fabric of your body, replacing flaccid, weak tissue with energetic, elastic tendons. They believe that by breathing correctly, by moving qi deep into the marrow of the bones, the Shi Sui Jing, you can become impervious to illness. You can become something more than human. Every hero needs a signature weapon. King Arthur had Excalibur. Thor has his hammer. Shaolin has a stick. The staff, or goon, is the symbol of the temple. But why a stick? Why not a sword or a spear? First, it's humble. It's a walking stick, a tool for travel. It fits the monk's vow of poverty. Second, it's non-lethal. Well, theoretically. It doesn't have a blade, so it fits the Buddhist rule against spilling blood. Of course, a heavy wooden staff can shatter a skull just fine without spilling a drop, but let's not split hairs. But there is a myth behind the staff, and it's one of my favorites. It was the year 1351. The Red Turban Rebellion was sweeping across China. Bandits were at the gates of Shaolin, ready to burn it to the ground. The monks were outnumbered. Defeat looked certain. Suddenly, a kitchen worker stepped forward. He was a nobody, a guy who spent his days stoking the fires, covered in soot, ignored by the high-ranking masters. He grabbed a massive iron fire poker from the stove. He leaped into the oven, yes, into the fire, and emerged transformed. He grew 50 feet tall. His skin turned dark blue. He straddled the mountains like a colossus and spun his staff with such force that he summoned a tornado, blowing the bandit army away. The monks realized this wasn't just a cook, it was the Kin Na Ra King, a Buddhist deity in disguise. This legend teaches the most important lesson of Shaolin: the master is hidden. Real power doesn't look like power. It looks like a cook. It looks like a sweeper. It looks like a janitor. It reminds the monks that while they are training their kicks and punches, the guy sweeping the floor might be the one who saves the temple. By the Ming Dynasty, the secret was out. Shaolin wasn't just a temple, it was a special forces training camp. And China needed them. In the 1550s, the coast was being ravaged by the Woko Japanese pirates. These weren't Jack Sparrow. These were ruthless Ronin, master swordsmen who were carving through the imperial army like butter. The government panicked. They called Shaolin. In July 1553, 120 monks marched to the coast to face the pirates. And the accounts of this battle are chilling. The chronicles say the monks were ruthless. They utilized iron staffs to shatter the pirates' katanas. They chased the fleeing pirates for 20 miles over 10 days. They didn't take prisoners. They killed every single one. There is a story of a monk named Tian Yuan. Before the battle, 18 other martial artists from different schools challenged his command. He picked up an iron gate latch and defeated 8 of them at once. But here is where history gets interesting. Because Shaolin didn't just teach the army taught Shaolin. A famous general named Yu Da-yo visited the temple around 1560. He watched the monks spar, and he was unimpressed. He told them their fighting was too flowery, too theatrical. Embroidered legs, he called it. He said they had lost the ancient secrets of real combat. So he took 2 young monks into his army for 3 years. He taught them military formation fighting. He taught them how to kill efficiently, without the flair. Those 2 monks returned to Shaolin and rewrote the curriculum. It's a fascinating feedback loop. The divine technique was refined by the dirty reality of war. The heavenly protection wasn't magic, it was the willingness to learn from a grumpy general who told them they sucked. Walk through the Shaolin Temple today, and you will see the Pagoda Forest. It's a graveyard, hundreds of stone towers rising out of the mist. Each one is the tomb of a master. Some are tall, some are short. Some are round, some are square. It is a silent library of bone and ash. The Shaolin Temple has been burned down many times. Warlords have torched it. Pirates have besieged it. In 1928, a rival general burned the library, destroying centuries of manuals. But the temple survived. Why? Because the temple protected by heaven isn't a building. It's an idea. When the library burned, the books were gone, but the knowledge wasn't. It was encoded in the muscle memory of the monks. It was hidden in the breathing of the survivors, hiding in the mountains. The story of Shaolin is a reminder that resilience isn't about being unbreakable. It's about knowing how to rebuild. It's about the shadow burnt into the rock. It's about the cook in the kitchen. It's about the monk who stands on one hand on the edge of a cliff, finding stillness in a world that wants to push him over. The protection of heaven doesn't come from the sky. It comes from the sweat, the blood, and the iron will of the men standing guard at the gate. Thanks for watching.